Welcome to Minding My Business. I hope you're having a blessed up day. And if you're not, hopefully today's episode is going to bless you up. This was a show dedicated to celebrating people that have created a lane for themselves and are doing extraordinary things in the world. The whole point of the show is to help you elevate your business, your mindset, and your life. Enjoy the show. Today's powerhouse guest is Jaime Maddox. She's a 3-time Agent of the Year nominee, 2022 top 5 sales manager for life and health insurance, and she's on a mission to create 106-figure income earners. Jaime, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an honor to just be invited to be on your show. So, thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to the conversation that we're about to have.
Yeah, so we met at an entrepreneur event here in Miami, and your energy was absolutely amazing. I could just tell like you're a go-getter, a high achiever, and you really have this like service-based heart. Like you really do want to see people win, and I think that's such a strong attribute to have as a leader, whether you're working for a company or you've built your own company, it really doesn't matter. And I thought it was really cool and just an honor to see like in real life just somebody that really owned their role and wanted to be the best of it. So I was like, I gotta have her on the show. And that's what I was like told myself. And then I was like, come on, you can do it. Come on the show.
Well, I appreciate your persistency with me, even though I was a little bit hesitant at first. But yeah, I'm super. I mean, you're right. Like I do, I've always kind of had like a servant heart and just want to serve others and help others, be successful, whether it be like in my previous career when I was in fitness, just helping people become the best versions of themselves from a physical standpoint, to help build that confidence. But even now, so more, I feel like this opportunity has just given me the chance to change people's life on a completely different level as far as like changing their income, giving them financial freedom, and them being able to not only change their own life, but the life of the people that come behind them, their family members and their
Mm.
friends. So yeah, I've truly been blessed with what I've been able to do since I started in this business. And now, because of the blessings that I've received from it, it's like I have to share this opportunity with others, and I have to help them be able to have the things that I've been able to have and be blessed with. So
Mm.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. So definitely a journey for sure.
So wait, hold on. Let's go back a little bit. The first thing is like you mentioned you came from the fitness industry. And I've
Yeah.
noticed like a lot of people, I don't know if you know this, but I actually came from the fitness industry too. Like that was like my first career. And I've noticed there's so many uh foundational habits that can maneuver into really any single industry and people have heightened levels of success. I mean, everybody that I've known that's had like maybe their beginning career in the fitness has been able to transmute that and scale and do really really big things in any other industry. So, let's talk a little bit about like what made you transition from the fitness industry into now like health and life insurance?
Great question. So I get this question a lot actually because they're two polar opposites, right? Um, but my answer is always exactly the same. God.
Mm.
God decided that it was time for me to leave the fitness industry and to move into something different. I did not essentially initially choose to leave the fitness industry, but I had a pretty successful 16-year career and had kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder and had was really proud of all the success that I've achieved, and I was trying to continue to climb a little bit higher, and till one day it kind of all came crashing down on me, and I got called into a meeting unexpectedly and was let go. And that was
Mm.
back in August of 2020. And in that moment I thought, I have a lot of experience, and I have everything that I need to stay in the fitness industry and just go work for a different company, right? But the crazy thing about the day that I was let go was the feeling that I had after was not anything I would have expected. And it was a feeling of relief.
Mm.
And I was very shocked by that. And it forced me to really think about how I was feeling. Like, was I really truly happy in that career? Or was I just doing it because it was what I had always done, and it was what I was good at, and I just wanted to keep staying with it. But when I really looked at it, I realized that I was overworked, underpaid, and I had reached the peak of, my earning potential. I was working 50, 60 hours a week, and I felt like I was constantly drowning, and I wasn't really happy. And I
Mm.
definitely wasn't growing anymore. And that was the big thing. That was the reason why I chose to leave the fitness industry and move into something completely different, because I felt like even though I was fired, I felt like I was actually stagnant in my career and in life. And it was time for me to grow again and to do something that was going to motivate me and challenge me and push me to the next level. And I really just wanted to see if I felt like I'd been super successful in fitness. I really just wanted to see if I could be great in something new.
Mm.
And so the day that I was actually let go from the fitness industry, the person that is now my business partner that got me into this 4 years ago reached out to me out of the blue that same exact day and
Wow.
asked me if I would be open to having a conversation about a career opportunity with their firm. And the rest is history. So that's really how I got into it. And, I really took it on. I mean, I didn't have any sales experience, really. Maybe a little bit. I did a little bit of pre-sales with when I was with Orange Theory before we opened, but that was maybe 5 or 6 months of sales experience, and that was just selling some memberships. And so, other than that, I really didn't have any. So this is a brand new territory for me. But I saw the opportunity to be able to trade time for money and really be able to get paid for how hard I was working. And that's what really got me. The person that got me into it, my mentor, my coach now, he said, Jamie, if you work just as hard in this business as you worked when you were in the fitness industry, there's no reason why you can't make a six-figure income your first year. And I'd never seen that kind of money before. The most I ever made in the fitness industry was 63,000 a year. And that was my cap. That was my peak. And so when he told me that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bet on myself. And I'm going to see if I can do this thing. I'm going to be coachable. It's going to be hard, but I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to do something different and see if, like I said, if I can be successful in something else. And
Mm.
so I jumped in head first and I was all in. There was no plan B. And I committed to 1 year. I said, I'm going to do this for 1 year, no matter what, no matter how hard it is. I'm going to give myself the time to figure it out and learn it. I'm not going to give up no matter what. And at the end of the year, I had done $130,000 in
You
income.
doubled. You
And
doubled your income.
I more than doubled my income my first year in life insurance sales. I sure did. And I haven't looked back since. And
Wow.
now I'm helping other people make that kind of money. And that's even more amazing. So yeah, that's kind of how all that happened, transitioned from fitness to sales.
Wow. And so like what would you say, you mentioned like, you went all in for the year, and like there's a lot of correlations, when you're changing your body and you're changing your health and you're like, it's not just a month, it's like you're giving it a solid year. what would you say, like, throughout the hardship of starting completely brand new into something, of like reaching an expert level in one career and then going back to amateur level in another career, what would you say some of like your daily habits and your routines were like to like keep you operating at peak performance, like no matter how hard the days got or no matter how many rejections you received in the beginning and even
Yeah.
till today?
Yeah. So I think for me, I came into it with the expectation that it was going to be really hard. Like I expected to get rejected. I expected to suck. I I had did this, I guess, thought or this premise in my mind that was going to be, it's kind of like when you go to like get a shot or you're about to go through something painful in your mind, you make it, you imagine that it's going to be really, 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 really bad. When it actually happens and you get the shot, it actually wasn't that bad. But you blow it up in your mind to think that it's really, really going to be really, really, really bad so that you don't have that type of reaction. And that's what I did with this business because I mean, I had all I knew was fitness for 16 years. I mean, I even went to college for kinesiology and exercise biz, like bachelor's and master's degree, right? Literally all I knew. So to be going into this almost, I think I started when I was 38, 38 years old, 2 years from 40, starting something brand new. It was like, I just put on this mentality that, hey, like, I'm probably going to suck at this because it's just like I'm a kid again trying to figure out how to ride a bike. And I honestly feel like that coming into it with that kind of mentality allowed me to be able to handle the downs, any failures and challenges and obstacles and no after no after no and people being mean. It allowed me to kind of absorb those in a way that where I was thinking, as this is teaching me, these rejections and these failures are teaching me to be good, teaching
Mm,
me how to figure this thing out to where I can be um successful at it. And so I came at it, I guess, with a student mentality,
mm,
and also just trying to stay humble and coachable, which was very hard for me because, yeah, I was used to being the person that was doing all the trainings and the teachings and the Zoom calls for all my coaches. Because I was a regional fitness manager for the whole state of Alabama, Mississippi. I trained and certified like all of these people all the time. So I was going from being the teacher to being the student. And I think just being able to wrap my head around that and knowing that this was where I was at, but that in order for me to get back to that teacher again, I had to remain coachable and have the right mindset towards it. So
mm,
also, I think the second thing that allowed me to get through like the hard times was, no matter how hard it didn't matter how many times I got rejected, it didn't matter how many times I had to go to work in the snow or like it was pouring down raining and I was miserable or was burning up hot, I was sweating my butt off. I want to go back to
mm,
corporate America. I
mm,
didn't want to go back to working my freaking butt off for somebody else to get the majority of the pay, and for me to never be able to make what I'm truly worth.
mm,
And that really drove me when it got really, really tough because I saw what this opportunity, what kind of money, what kind of income I could create for myself based off of how hard I worked. And then if I just kept going, got up every single day and did the same things, the same consistent things, and remained coachable and trainable and teachable, and embraced this thing day in and day out, 100%, that I was going to be able, I was capable of having the life that I truly believe that I deserved and that I was born to have. And I was going to be able to become the person that I know God meant for me to be and have the kind of true impact in the lives of others that I wanted to have.
Mm.
And I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back. And so it was kind of a combination of all those things. And then I do feel like, being when you're in fitness, when you work out, when you're disciplined in that part of your life, it translates over into job discipline as well. And so I do feel like the fact that, hey, I switch my schedule. I wake up every day now, 4:30 a.m., and I go get my workout in before the day starts. And then boom, I'm rolling. And that puts me in the right mindset, gives me energy, endorphins. It's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is get my body moving, get the sweat going, and it just makes the day go better when I start
Mm.
my day like that. And so having that discipline just carries over also into my work as well.
Mm. Mm. I was gonna say, like, wait, look at this camera. Because I think you're looking more on the Instagram camera, which is great, but look at the other one because this one's gonna go on the other one. I was like,
I
hold
know.
on, I'm only
Well,
seeing half of you.
I've got to hold this one up with my hand because this is
Okay.
one phone and then the other phone is on a
So
tripod.
look at this one. That one's gonna be fine. That's for them, but this is gonna be like
Okay.
on everything. I was like, I'm still listening,
Okay.
but look over here.
Okay. I'm like straight up holding up my iPhone on the Instagram. People probably think I'm crazy, but I
No, but
mean, I'm a
that's cool too.
beginner. I'm a
Yeah,
newbie.
you know what? And that's the thing too, is like having that courage to part of like growth and evolution and knowing how to pivot, is so critical for our growth. And the thing is, it's like personal growth and development never ends, especially if you want to be the best of the best. They said like after COVID that technology was sped up like times 10, and so we're like getting caught up with all these different devices, and it's the same thing. It's like being open-minded and like going, same thing, like taking that beginner's mindset and putting it into so many other things is so critical for that. And you mentioned too, like part of your morning routine of your training. And before we got started, I was like, dang girl, I didn't know you had them kind of muscles. Cause when I saw you at that event, we were like all covered up and stuff. And I didn't know that your first career was in the fitness. And so, it has a huge impact on the resiliency, but not just like physical, like the mental and the emotional. What does your like night routine look like? Because clearly, I mean, if we're not getting sleep or we're not getting rest, it's gonna be almost impossible to show up for our workouts in the morning.
Oh my gosh, 100%. So I value my sleep so much. And I mean, I can honestly say, like, I have slept well my whole life. And I truly believe that the reason why I've slept well my whole life is because I have been physically active my whole entire life. Like from the time I was in fourth grade, I mean, I was an athlete all through,
Mm.
high school and
What sport
college,
did you
and then
play? What was like your favorite
uh,
sport?
volleyball was my favorite. I did that all through high school and played all 4 years in college as well. But also played a state champion of volleyball, played basketball, and then I also ran cross country in college as well, and played softball in college too. So,
Mm.
but to answer your question, so basically, so I'll be honest, like I work pretty late most evenings. Like this is early for me to be on the Zoom for you. Normally I'm still out working in the field. But I normally get home between 6 and 7 p.m. And then from there, it's really just kind of looking at business stuff for the day, checking my schedule for tomorrow, to see if I have any kind of like what appointments I have, if I need to check my back office, check and see if I have any interviews coming up, if there's anything I need to prep for the next day for work. Of course, I do dinner. I don't big cook person. I don't cook because it's just me, single. So I actually have been doing the Cook Unity meals. So I try to do like a healthy meal off of there. These are like professional chefs that create meals and you can order them and they'll send them to your door every Thursday. And you literally heat them up in the microwave for 2 minutes and they're like ready to go, like someone just made you this amazing dinner. And they're actually really good and fairly healthy. So that's what I kind of do for dinner. And then I'm really trying to get in the bed around 9:30. Like that's my ideal time to fall asleep because I'm waking up at 4:30. And some nights that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, 9:30 to 10 is typically when I'm going to sleep.
Mhm. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about like pivoting, right? Like pivoting from like one career to the next, or like, and like being responsible for also like so many people as a leader. When we're talking about pivoting, like I know you had mentioned that you had gotten let go, and then that next day you had like another door open for you.
Yeah.
But with so many moving pieces as you're growing and evolving in this new season of your life, like, is there ways that you're able to identify, like, when to pivot and just when to pivot?
When you say when to pivot, what exactly are you referring to?
I'm referring to if you're working on building 100 six-figure earners, right?
Yeah.
And you're noticing that, like you had mentioned, like, all right, I'm going to give this a year, or I'm going to follow this
Yeah.
protocol. Like, how do you know when it's time to move differently? When there's
Yeah.
like a combination of like a system where things need time, and then when you're like, wait a second,
Mm.
this isn't the right system for what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. So, well, as you know, in business, if you're not going to make money if you don't spend money. So, over the past few years, I've invested in a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to kind of like, hire and reach out and find good people. And, at the end of the day, when it comes to that type of thing, like knowing when to stop investing in one thing and start investing in another. Well, first off, it's am I getting the return on my investment? So if I'm getting the return on my investment, then I'm going to stick with that. If I'm not getting the return on my investment, then I'm not. And I think it's the same thing with like systems and processes as well that I try to implement. Like if I see that I'm putting something in place and my team is benefiting from it and they're seeing results from that system or that process or that teaching, then I'm going to repeat that, right? I'm going to repeat the things that work, and the things that don't, I'm not. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of times it can be a lot of trial and error, but I also think that a lot of what I do, like I like to call myself an entrepreneur, and I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm not in business. I'm in business for myself, but I'm not in business by myself. So I have a lot of support,
Mm.
our brokerage firm, and we have a great culture where, if if my guys are winning, I'm winning. And if this person over here, if I'm helping them win, I'm winning. And if they're helping me win, they're winning. And there's not this like cutthroat, I'm better than you, whatever. Like I'm trying to move past you. Like we're all trying to get to the same place. We all have our own specific goals. And as long as we're all helping each other reach those goals, we're all in turn going to win and get where we want to go. And so I think one of the things that I've had to learn, especially in like the first year of my business when I wasn't building and I was just writing business, was really just following the systems and processes that were in place already for me to follow to be successful. But then now the building part of it and the hiring and finding people to bring on board, you know, um, that framework or that platform or that system is not quite set in stone. So I have to reach out to people that are where I want to be. And I have to
Mm,
implement the things that they are doing and basically copying them, because that's what I did when I was first starting with writing business and just selling life insurance. Was I was just paying the way that I was able to get nominated for Female Agent of the Year my first year in the business. Was I literally was listening to, talking to, reaching out to, getting information from the people that were where I wanted to be, that were making the money I wanted to make, and I was copying everything they were doing. And that's essentially what I've been trying to do with building. And I think that sometimes always can think that our way is better and we want to try something different. And sometimes something different is good. And sometimes it's just a matter of just sticking to what everybody else is doing, even though it may not, it may not be, you got to realize it's a slow process. It's not going to just happen overnight. And I can
mm,
be really impatient. And I think that's kind of one of the things that I've learned is just that I have to be patient and just continue to stay consistent with doing the right things every day that are going to keep me getting closer to the business.
mm,
Um, because it's incremental, it's not monumental. That's what one of my amazing mentors, Ken Jocelyn, that's like his motto for his entrepreneurial community that he runs, that I'm a part of. And that's like his tagline: incremental, not monumental. Small daily discipline decisions. Um, Success cannot escape you when you make small daily disciplined decisions towards reaching your goal. It's just about consistency every single day. I mean, it's just like when you're working out. Like, you don't just, if you're overweight or you don't have muscle or you're not strong, you don't go to the gym one time and then you're magically strong and you've lost all the weight. Like, it's going to take every single day, constantly doing the same things and putting your body through those challenges and getting uncomfortable to build and form and create the body that you want. It's
mm,
going to happen. It's going to take a while. But it's not going to happen if you go for a week and then you quit for a month, and then you go for a week and you quit for a month. You're not going to get the results that you want. But if you go in every single freaking day for a whole year, at the end of a year, you're going to look a lot different if you're not eating pizza and Doritos every single night, right? And it's no different with business. You
mm.
just got to be consistent with doing the right things. And if you find that you're being consistent doing things that aren't moving the needle for you, then you stop doing them. And that's when you know to pivot, is if they're not getting you the results that you want.
Mhm, mhm. I love that because I literally was gonna ask you that, like the correlation of the physical aspect of taking care of yourself and your training and how it correlates into the success of the business. But you described it perfectly. And another thing too is like even when you get to the there, it's a maintenance, right? So it's like you're
It is
still having those habits and that routine, and then if you have a new goal, you kind of tweak the thing, but you don't like completely change the program.
100%. And that is the beauty of it. And I think too, it's like you said, put in the hard work and you do the things you need to do to get where you want to be physically, then you keep doing the same things, but you don't have to work as hard to maintain what you've developed to create wanting to have, right? And it's the same thing with business. Once you get to a certain, like, I remember, when I, what, how long it takes me now, you could say, make the kind of money it took me to make 4 years ago is completely different, right?
Mm,
Because I've learned, because I've put the reps in over the past 4 years.
mm,
And so, whereas it might take me sitting down with 6 or 7 people here in the business just to make a grand, now I can sit down with 2 people, 2 hours, and make a grand rather than a
mm,
whole day, right? But the only reason that I'm able to do that now is because I put in those 50 to 60 hours of work, of sitting down with all those people that wouldn't buy from me, discover people I did need to be spending my time with, that are going to be potential buyers, to know how to maneuver around different objections and learn the skill set to close more deals, right?
Mm,
Um, and so now I guess you could say, because I've done that, I have that extra time to be able to spend on my agents and helping and developing them, and also, hiring and interviewing and looking at different recruits as well, because I don't have to spend as much time in the field writing business like I did in the beginning.
mm-hmm.
So honestly, I think it's a direct correlation, to working out and building and creating the physique that you want.
Mm-hmm. And that's like one area, right, is the body when it comes to personal growth and development, because I mean, there's so many correlations of how your workouts are a huge part of your personal growth, the mental and the emotional health and stability. What other aspects would you say as far as like personal growth and development, and how critical is that into scaling in your business and in
Oh my
leadership
God.
too?
Yeah. So, one of my mentors, he always says, um, your level of income will never exceed your personal development.
Mm.
And, um, I have really, really taken that to heart. And really, the longer that I've been in this business and really started to scale and, you know, hire people and train and develop them, the more I've realized that I need to be better in order for them to be able to be better and for me to be able to teach and help them. They're never gonna they're never gonna be able to reach the level that they're not never gonna be able to reach any higher than what I'm where I'm at, where my level is, right? Because I'm their leader. So how are they? And so I would say that growth, personal development has been a huge catalyst to me going from where I was, 3 years ago with two agents to where I'm at now, with 15. And it's really been, I mean, I've invested a lot of time and a lot of money into different ways of developing myself. I mean, I can name them all off if you want me
Can
to.
you, well, yeah, I mean, can you share like the different ways that, because I think
For
sometimes
sure.
that word might be a little bit foreign for people because like, okay, well, what is personal growth and development, and what type of avenue, like, what does that look like? So yeah, I would love
Yeah,
to for you to
absolutely.
name several, whatever you can think of.
Yeah, for sure. So, definitely just starting to listen to podcasts, leadership podcasts, mindset podcasts, entrepreneurial podcasts. Some of my favorites are the Mel Robbins podcast, Max Out with Ed Milet, Mindset Mentor with Rob Dial. Um, Also, my therapist is, she has her own podcast as well. Her name is Dr. Morgan Anderson, and she runs the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. And I listen to that as well for just continuing to develop myself, my mental aspect of how I view myself and with relationships, how I view relationships and love and things like that. So those are a few podcasts that I listen to. A lot of personal development books. Oh my goodness,
What's your
so
top
many. I
one for 2024? The year's almost over, so what's your top one for
ah
2024?
was The Diary of a CEO
Hmm. I love his
by,
podcast.
oh my gosh,
Steven,
Stephen, Burdick.
I keep, there's this
No,
other guy that has a
that's the
podcast.
pastor. That's the
I
pastor.
know there's so many
Yeah,
books. But his first name is Steven because I was just
it is.
talking to my inner circle about Sean Stevenson, who is like a study. He does a lot of, it's like the model health podcast, and he talks a lot about sleep and how he recovered from, a lot of different things just by sleep
Bartlett.
alone.
I think it's Stephen Bartlett, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I just know he
or
always
like,
says just Steven. But yeah, I know what you're talking
well, that's
about.
what
It's
his
so good.
Instagram. He's so good, and his book is phenomenal.
Mm.
Um, so the Diary of a CEO. So that's probably my favorite one for the year. I could name off so many others that I've read, I'm reading.
What's been one of the most transformational books that have has like one of those books that you go back to once a year?
So I'm gonna be very transparent. I suck at reading, much better at listening to audiobooks. Okay. And generally I don't repeat books. I just
You
I
haven't had
just
any
read
book you've
one.
repeated?
I don't think so. Because I'm like,
That's
okay,
okay.
I've finished that book. I'm gonna go do a new one. Ed Milet, his book that he put out this, I think, last year, um, uh, The
One
Power
more
of
or
One
something like
More.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Power of One More was really, really great. Um, and oh, I know one that really got me was, well, two, The Four Agreements and Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Dynamite. Those
Napoleon Hill.
two, Napoleon Hill.
I'm like Napoleon Dynamite. I don't-
That was a
He's in
movie.
a different episode.
Oh my
He
God.
was probably
Yeah,
witting the devil, not outwitting the devil.
no, right. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah,
This is a
so
real live show. We like the
yeah, right.
entertainment.
I'm like, whatever. So Napoleon Hill. So I would say those two were like really, it's like blew my mind. They
Mm,
really blew my mind.
yeah.
So I definitely highly recommend those two. And so those, books, podcasts, but then I also joined an entrepreneurial community, a faith-based entrepreneurial community at the beginning of 2023. And being a part of that and their mastermind and going to the conferences and being in their collective on the Zoom calls, and being able to be around myself with people who are 7 and 8, 9 figure income earners who are just like on another level. I really believe that proximity is a cheat code, and getting in the room with people who know more than you and who are making more money than you and who are where you want to be, and just learning from them and networking with them and engaging with them. I mean, that community was how I got connected with a lot of people that helped me with marketing on social media. That's how I met my therapist, Dr. Morgan. That's completely changed my life, from a personal and relationship perspective. Helped me work through so much past trauma and uncover, a lot of the reasons why I believe I'm, still single and 42. But, if I wouldn't have put myself, invested in myself in that way, I definitely would not be where I am right now today. So I truly believe that your success in business is going to be a direct reflection of your ability to personally grow and develop,
Mhm.
because your business is a reflection of you and who you are. And if you're currently making a certain amount of money and you want to be making a different amount of money, then you just haven't become the person that knows how to make that kind of money.
Mhm.
And like 4 years ago, I didn't know how to make the kind of money I'm making now. I've grown into the person that knows how to make that kind of money now. And now I have a new goal, but I know that in order for me to make the kind of money that I want to make in this hand, I'm still not the person that I need to be making that money. So it's going to take more growth, more development inside here and here in order for me to get to the point to where I am the person who knows how and deserves to be making seven figures, which is my ultimate goal, is to be a seven-figure
Perfect.
incomer.
Well, you
So
transitioned perfectly into my next question, which is like,
yeah,
what do you, I know, I'm like, did you already know what I was gonna say? So like,
yeah, I read your mind.
what do you need to overcome in order to become that type of woman?
Oh,
There was something I watched on this one, like, it was a Reels or something, and the guy was like, "Who'd you become?" And the guy's like, "I think you're asking the wrong question." He's like, "No," it's like, "What do you do?" He goes, "No, you're asking the wrong question. What am I not doing?" And then he
yeah,
was naming all the things so that he could achieve that level of like external success. And I was like, "Wow, it's pretty powerful." So it's like, what do you have to overcome, Jamie, now in 2024 to become that seven
yeah,
figure person in 2025?
yeah. So I think that something that I probably, and I'm sure a lot of growth entrepreneurs, people who like get into being an entrepreneur in whatever stage of life, when they're getting into it, they're learning and they're growing. Um, we can have imposter syndrome and feel like, well, like why would anybody want to work with me because I've only been X, Y, and Z, right? I've only done X, Y, and Z. I haven't done what this other person has done over here. So why would anybody, like, what do I have to offer? Why would anybody want to work with me or whatever? And I think that that's the biggest thing. It's like just the fear of what you, not really the fear, but just not, not believing in, what you're worthy of, I guess you could say. Um, and devaluing, I think for me, I've always been so hard on myself because I've always wanted to be the best of the best. And I think I oftentimes people will compliment me and they're like, "You're crushing it, Jamie. Like, you're amazing. Like, your team is doing so good, blah, blah, blah." And I'm sitting here like, I really need to step it up. I'm saying I need to do more or be more and have better leadership or better processes or better organization or whatever. And I'm constantly thinking that to myself. And I think sometimes thinking that can hinder me from offering the opportunity to someone who might need it because I may feel like, well, why would they want to work with me? But then I have to think about the fact that Jamie, like, look at what you've done. You've done a lot of things that no one else has done, right? Like, how many other girls in the company have been nominated Female Agent of the Year every single year since they started? I don't know of too many people that have. And over that time, also been growing and building a team. And I think sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm great. Like, I'm awesome. And I have a lot of love to give. And I want a lot for other people. And I have a servant heart and I want to be better. And um, I would want to work with someone who had that kind of heart. And I would want to work with someone who had the success in the business. Like if I want to know how to sell, I want to work with somebody really, really good at selling. So why am I going to diminish the fact that that's one of the main things that I've done really, really well is sold a lot of insurance and I know how to do it really, really well. So why wouldn't someone want to come work with me? But I think it's just that constant battle of comparing yourself to the people that are already where you want to be and basically just being okay with where you are, what you've done, and knowing that you can continue to progress and get better. And you just have to continue. I just have to continue to believe in myself and believe that God is going to put those people in my path that are gonna be attracted to working with me and that are gonna be impacted by having me in their life and vice versa. I mean, I've been impacted by the people that I've hired in a positive way. So it's, it's mutually beneficial. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, well,
I feel
you
like I
did
was
like,
kind
and
of all
you
over
did.
the place.
Well, you did indirectly, and sometimes, I throw people little curveballs because we don't really like think about it, but it's there. And so, really, what you're saying is, you just got to be consistent with what you're already doing and strengthen the muscles that you're already putting in the daily reps with. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not doing anything different. It's just strengthening what you're already doing and putting in more repetitions into that version of yourself becomes the more dominant version. So
Yeah.
I think I literally like there's so many patterns when I have guests on the show that have made just crazy, crazy external success. And it's interesting to see like the common things of like the mindset and the inner conflict and the duality because like growth doesn't end. And
Right.
when we're stepping in new shoes, there's going to be duality all over again. There's going to be conflict all over again. There's going to be those inner gremlins that are like, so,
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this, I got to shout out my therapist because she really helped me with kind of what I was just talking about quite a bit, and really helped me to create a kind of a morning alignment for myself. And it really
what's a
is,
morning
it's,
alignment?
yeah, a morning alignment is, it's basically something that it's basically a statement that I say out loud every morning, about basically who I am, but it's future Jamie, and it's the future Jamie that I'm trying to become, but I speak it in present tense, as if it's already happened. Um, and the statement it incorporate every part of the alignment, um, includes a different aspect of my life that I'm trying to kind of, become the next level of Jamie, right? And
Love that.
after I do that, I say like my affirmations and my gratitudes, and different quotes and principles that I live by. And I think just doing that, and then also spending time with God, every morning, those two things, and then prepping for my day really do get me aligned with what my purpose is for that day and just in life. And saying those things out loud also forced me to look at the things in my life right now are in alignment with what I'm saying. Like my statements is, she has healthy, supportive, godly friendships with other women. Well, when was the last time I had a conversation with one of my Christian girlfriends? You know, when I say that every morning, it makes me think, it reminds me of the relationships that I need to be investing in if I haven't been, and forces me to reach out to somebody, right? So the whole statement, it forces me to highlight the areas where maybe I'm not through to that version of Jamie that I'm looking to, and it highlights the different areas that maybe I'm falling short in or that are slacking, and the areas I'm giving more time to that I'm doing well. I can say out loud, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely aligned with that right now because I've been putting a lot of time into it." But this other statement over here that I'm trying to become, I haven't done anything to work towards that recently. So maybe I need to reevaluate my time this week, right?
Mm.
And so it really does force me to look at every single day what I'm doing to become the person created me to be and reach my full potential. Am I doing the things that are going to get me to the Jamie that I'm trying to become? Right. And that's been hugely helpful. And I think it's many people, and I did it too for my whole life in the fitness industry when I was doing fitness. We just go through life today, 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 and you just keep going. You just keep going. and you're not really like trying to do anything different or whatever. And I just realized that, like, if I want to get to a certain place, if I want to become a certain person, I have to be intentional and I have to think about it. I have to remind myself every single day, who am I trying to become and what am I doing today to get closer to her?
Mhm.
And so that's been huge for me as well. And I would highly recommend anybody to to do that, to do some
Yeah.
type of a morning, a statement of every aspect of your life. Who is that ideal you that you want to be, from business to finances to faith to emotional stability to mental health to physical health to everything, relationships, everything, every aspect of your life. What's the ideal version of you? And just write down a statement of the ideal version of you in that and what you want your life to look like. And then just say it every day when you wake up. And I guarantee you, you'll start seeing things about your life. You'll start making different decisions. You'll start behaving differently. You'll start thinking differently because you know that thoughts that used to come in or old things you used to do that don't align with that person, all of a sudden you're like, dang, I probably need to change that because
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to get me there. Right. So it's really allowed me to change a lot of things about my life, change a lot of things about my mindset, and keep me focused on what my goal and my vision is for my life.
Mhm. Yeah, we call that reintroducing yourself to yourself.
I love it.
Say like hello, like I sometimes I'll do that with clients. Like introduce yourself to me, and they have to like say that, but like I make them redo it until they say it, and I'm convinced. So you have to say it until
Exactly.
you're convincing yourself. I love that, and I've never heard of it called morning alignment. I always call it the reintroduction.
I like that too.
Yeah, I love both of them.
Yeah.
Alignment, I love it, and I'm so happy. I think you're like one of the first people I've like heard that is actually doing that, and I was like, "That's so cool," and how you described it, I love it. Now
Awesome.
you're talking about like you're talking about support, and what are some of the core values when it comes to like people that you allow closest to get to know Jamie on a core level? You had mentioned like your Christian friends and God centered.
Mhm.
But what are
Yeah.
some of like the core values where you're like, okay, these people I'm gonna really like, these are my people.
Yeah. So I think, it's definitely easier for me to open up to people who um are Christians and that are, faithful people and believers, because that's just a foundational component of my life. And uh I try to keep, God first in everything that I do and live by faith. And my relationship with Jesus is really important. So I know that aligning myself with other people that have that same faith is important. And there's a level, I guess you could say, of trust, kind of automatic trust that I'm able to kind of feel with people that maybe I connect with, like on a relational level, like we have a lot in common, we get along, um, have some of the same interests and hobbies, but they're Christian, so I feel as if I, you know, have a higher level of trust with them, uh, especially when they show up, consistently. But I will say that it does take a while for me to really, I guess you could say, be open and vulnerable with someone until I've spent, a good bit of time with with them. I don't just easily just kind of, open up and share like every little thing unless I feel like super comfortable. I can. I have like one friend, oh, high school friend that is literally my number one, my best friend. And I feel like I can literally tell her anything, and she's probably the only person that I can think of in my life that I could tell pretty much anything to.
Even more than
Um,
your therapist?
yeah, I mean, I guess I could tell my therapist. But she doesn't count because she's a doctor.
Yeah.
She's a mental health doctor. Um, or a relationship doctor, whatever. But anyway, so yeah, it does take a while for me. And I think too, just people that I see I can kind of relate to on I think being an entrepreneur, when people kind of don't when I can tell people don't really understand the way that I think, which is a little bit different, I guess, than people with 9 to 5s or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm not better. I'm just saying I just think differently now
Yeah.
than I used to. And so sometimes I can kind of tell that, if I'm starting to talk to someone new, anybody, a friend, someone I might date or whatever, when I start like opening up a little bit and talking about what I do and how I think and how ambitious I am and what I'm wanting for my future and things like that, if I can kind of tell that it kind of seems foreign to them or they're not getting it or they don't relate or whatever, it's very hard for me to with them and feel open, like I can be open with them because they just don't understand me. They don't get me, right?
Mhm.
And so I think people that I that I discover that get me are the ones that I end up getting closer to. But I'll be honest, like Tanya, I I don't have a whole ton of friends. I really don't. My circle is super small, and I'm very involved in my business with my team. I probably talk to the people that I work with more than and I hate to say this, I've talked to them more than I talk to my family, and
Yeah,
then
but you
I
know
talk to
what
them
though?
probably more than I talk to my friends.
There, like Layla Hermosi was saying, like that you hire your friends or like the people you hire because your core values and you guys just get each other and you're on a mission together, they become your friends. I mean, of course, like you're their leader, so there's like a level of what you're sharing and stuff like that, but typically like there's no reason why we have to segment like liking the people we work with. I mean, clearly we're all on a mission together, right?
100%. And it's funny that you say that because I was actually talking to one of the girls that I just recently hired, and we were talking about like going on trips or going on vacations and where we'd like to go and things like that. And I just kind of said, I would love to have just this huge team. Not that I have anything against guys, but like I would just love to have this huge team of badass women that I've hired and trained, and they're all making all this money, having the best life, and we can just all be like trips and to go on vacations together because we're all in the same business. We all have the same schedule. We're all making great money and we all get along because we're all entrepreneurs, right? And it's easy. And so we already connected because I'm their coach, right? And I was telling her, I was just like, that's like one of my dreams is to just to have a group of amazing women that we can all just like pick up and be like, hey, let's let's go to Bali for
And
a
let's work
4-day
from
trip or
Bali.
something.
But you know
Yeah,
what's
like let's
interesting?
go. So
Is like so there's a huge correlation between people that have played like competitive sports and what you're describing is practically creating a sports team. Your career is your sport and you're creating your own like winning team. It's the same concept. It's just that your sport is
100%.
now your career versus
Yep.
the actual like volleyball or the other things that you played. Isn't that
And that's
fascinating?
exactly how I see it. Exactly. And it's so funny because it's like that's what I'm like I love hiring ex athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes have the disciplines and the characteristics already in place from being an athlete and what an athlete has to do and go through and train through in order to win. Like you need the same skill set here. So I love hiring people that are former athletes because they always excel in business because every single time you sit down with somebody to try to help them and sell them, it's a game, right? Walks away with the sale wins, right?
Yeah, it
So
really is. I spoke to
it's
this guy at a TED event. He was like, I will only hire people that have athletic backgrounds because it's easier because they've already instilled the discipline. They know how to handle losses. They know that they have the desire to win. It's literally like the same concept. You're just transmuting it into now work.
because it's such a mental game. Like sales is more mental than it is anything else. If you can control this 6 inches in between your ears, then you can be successful in this. And that's what ex athletes and even just people that work out and are super fit and the things that they've gone through to develop and change their bodies. That's characteristics that are embedded within them from being an athlete, right? And
Mhm.
it translates perfectly over into what we do. I don't have to teach them how to be mentally tough. They've already learned that. And that's one of the hardest parts being successful and getting over that first initial like 90 to 120-day mark of just the learning process and getting beat up left and right, you know, with the no's and the rejection and messing up on stuff and everything you got to learn, right?
Mhm.
Athletes, they just
Get
keep
up,
going because
get
they know
up.
that like get up, you fall, get up, let's keep going. Like run another sprint, shoot another shot. You lost the game. Okay, where'd you mess up? Fix it. We're gonna practice extra. Like same thing with your sales. Like if you lost the sale because your presentation sucks, then freaking go home and work on your presentation all night long. Go over it and over it and over it and practice and practice and practice until it's great, until you're not losing sales because your presentation sucks, right? It's the same thing. Exact same thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I love hiring athletes, but to your point, back to your point about the team aspect, 100%. That's one of the things I love about being with our firm is that day I get to pick every single person that I hire direct me that's on my team. And I get to choose my team. I get to choose the people that I work with, not anybody above me.
Mhm. Do you have a specific do you have like core values or personality traits that you really like have a funneling process with when you're doing that? Like success let me ask you this, let me ask this differently. What are top tier core values that you see the people that thrive in that like have those core values?
Yeah. So they're obviously they're extremely driven, but they're humble and coachable. Two big things. Um, they are they have great integrity and character, high integrity and character, and they are team player, and um, are extremely disciplined. A lot of the stuff we've already been talking about, extremely disciplined. This isn't really a value, but one of the things that I see is people that already have a track record of success in another industry. They've already been successful somewhere else. When they come over here, they're successful as well. But really, I think the biggest thing is that people who just have a really, really strong why and desire to win.
Mm.
And I would say that's huge. Attitude, huge positive attitude, uh doesn't complain, like resourceful. They're a student. They ask a lot of questions. I know I'm not saying values, but I guess I'm just saying different like characteristics of
Well, yeah,
people that,
traits and core values, because those are things you can't
yeah,
teach, right? So it's like
yeah,
there's things that you can teach. Like there was this
yeah,
one guy, he was a coach to like I forget what sports team, but this little kid asked him the question. He goes, "What's more important, skill or attitude?" And he goes, "Whoa, I've never been asked that question before." He goes, "It's attitude because you can't
yeah,
teach attitude. You can teach
correct.
skill, but you
Yeah,
can't teach attitude."
yeah, 100%. I always say like I would much rather have somebody that's maybe a little rough around the edges that has an amazing attitude and a positive energy and is a go-getter than to have somebody that, you know, writes, a bunch of business and they're a closer and, they produce at a high level, but all they ever do is complain.
Mm,
Can't do it. Like, I cannot, like that to me, complaining, bad attitude, negative mindset, victim mentality, blaming others for your lack of success. That's toxic to a culture that I try to create within our team. And I don't care if you are the top ranked producer in our with our team. If you have a poor attitude, bye. It's
bye,
not worth it
Felicia.
because that poor attitude, it can be contagious. Just like a good attitude can be contagious, a bad attitude can be contagious. And
Mm,
the old saying, the bad one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch.
mm,
And I believe that still holds true today, especially in a business like this. So you don't
mm,
need bad attitudes when you're in a sales career, because sales is one of the toughest careers that you can be in, especially
mm,
commission only sales. And so
mm.
you need positivity around you and encouragement and motivation and people that are supporting you, the opposite of that.
Mm,
And so
mm.
I don't put up with that.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So I, man, I'm like, we could talk probably for another solid hour, but
I know.
out of everything we talked about, and if somebody were to take like one thing and integrate it into their business, into their mindset, and into their life that would help them elevate, what would that one thing be that you would suggest where they start with?
Themselves. Focus on becoming a better you.
Mm,
If there is a certain amount of money you're wanting to make, if there's a certain thing that you're wanting to do, um, find the people that are doing that at a high level, that are making the money that you want to make, and find out what they're doing. Find out what their habits are. Find out what they're reading. What are they thinking? What are they listening to? Who are they following? And start to develop yourself ways that they have developed themselves in order to become closer to where you want to become. All success, I believe, in our lives starts with us making a decision to grow beyond who we are today. Because if you're not growing, you're dying.
wow. This is mic drop on that one. Woo, girl. Well, thank you so much for sharing your energy and your time and dropping so many diamonds
Absolutely.
on us today. And thank
Yeah,
you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening in when you could have been anywhere else you were with us today. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. If you found value in today's episode, make sure you subscribe, that you like, you comment below one of your greatest takeaways for today, and you tag at Tanya C. Oliver and our guest. Until next time, remember that you were built for this, and it's time to elevate your business, mindset, and your life.